Hi, I'm Daz. Some shelf queens I've just discovered. I thought, well, perhaps it's time I had a quick look at some of these. Got Perdio Londoner. I've got an Alba 745. I've got a Philips Personic. I think that's a Log 90T. I've got a Hira multi-band radio, a little Katsura, and a Benkson 444. I think I ended up getting that from an antique shop in Norwich. This one I think come from a rally, the Alba. I like the tuning scale. The Philips, I'm not sure, but that also might have come from an antique shop, not sure. These two I think came from probably a BVWS meeting, and this one come from a radio rally. I used to have one of these when I was younger, and when 405 Lines was on, you could listen to one of the TV stations with it, if I remember correctly. So I thought I might just power them up and see what happens. Right, so the Katsura, I think there's a label missing there. Well, 5 transistors, I think I can see, and a diode, 1 IF stage, little tiny driver transformers as you'd expect. So not going to be a DX, does it? Right, positive is that one, so positive goes to that one. I'm bound to make a mistake. Right, let's see if this one goes. It may well. Oh, look at that. Goes quite loud, so yeah. Volume control okay, nothing to do on that one. Benkson one. Now this has got these dome top transistors in, hasn't it? And I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is interesting. So one is used as a rectifier, I guess. Probably that one. 2 transformers, driver and output again. The bigger dome tops. Very 70s, I guess. Earphone output. Right, let's plug this one in. Let's see what happens. I bet this one works as well. Tuning capacitor's a bit dirty. Oh, this one's got the defence markings on it. Ooh, capacitor's definitely a bit. I think the tuning's a little bit out on that one, but that's a worker as well, really, basically. So the Alba 745. Now this is missing the clips that hold the back on, so that's not so good. I don't know how to quite replace those. Let's have a look. This one at least has got 2 IFs, hasn't it? Yeah. How many transistors? I just looked on the diagram, I think it was 6. So pretty basic. Nothing fantastic. Although at least the output transformer and drive transformer have got a bit more meat on them. There's diode for biasing the output stage. 2 very, very small transistors. 8 ohm speaker. Bit of rust 4.5 volts on this one. Right. At least it's easier to get the polarity right on this one. Let's see if this does anything. I bet this works as well. Well, it's on and nothing's happening. Let's try flicking the switch. Well, nothing seems to be happening on this one. Unless it's corrosion or something. Rub the wires a bit. Well, that's definitely the on-off switch, and that does not feel very good, I've got to admit. Or maybe that's just how they felt, but there's no current being drawn. Nothing, not even a click. Okay, let's have a look at that one then. Okay, so just took the battery cardboard out, and I think we can see what's wrong with the Alba. It's got a green spot on it, so it's obviously corroded away. The switch is loose as well. So yeah, that needs tightening up. Wave change switches there should be easy to clean. So I'll just get this cleaned up and resoldered. Well, you've got the manual, and I didn't read it, but 2 screws there, the little screw here, the 2 screws on the PCB, and now I've got it 3. I'm going to have to replace this black wire, I think, because I just can't solder to it, even though I've cut it back a lot. So I don't know what the axis is like. If I wanted to change capacitors, it does look a bit hairy, doesn't it? Yes, you'd have to unthread this, I think. So yeah, it doesn't look very easy, does it? The battery compartment thing comes off with a screw as well. So anyway, it comes apart fairly well, but getting at the components looks a little bit more difficult. Right. Let's see.
Idolized Whitney Houston.
Ooh, life. That sounds lively. Long wave.
She's in creative and digital.
Yep, that's good. So that's working. Do I need to change the capacitors? I reckon you undo that screw there. Can't seem to work out what's the on-off switch. There that is. There's a screw there. I reckon you take the plate off, and then you can get access to the capacitors and things. This is interesting. It's got 9013, 9011, 9016 transistors in it. That seems very much like the transistors that are fitted in the Chinese radio kits I worked on recently, so that's interesting to note. IF is 470. Oh, that's unusual. Have a look. That's got low ESR. Should be 100, but another one. I think this is a 10. That's not so bad. It's risen. No, the ESR ain't that bad. Let's try this one. 0.9 microfarad. Now, assuming I've got the right point, which I think I have. Okay, that says 10 microfarad, so does it? No, 1 microfarad. Oh, well, that's all right then. Okay, so I decided as I've taken it this far apart, I'll change the caps, because you don't know if the rubber's going to leak as well. That's another issue. The electrolyte out. So I just put a bit of tape on, because I know how clumsy I can be. Right, so there we go. There's our new capacitors. It's negative there on that side, negative there, and negative on that side. So all there is one for the volume control, one for the AFC, and I do coupling across the power supply. So just 3 electrolytics in this one. Okay, I've done the wave change and switches. There's a nice gap there to squirt it in. Actually interesting, this is actually a fader. Wow, one of these linear pots that was very popular in the 70s, I guess. Everything seemed to have them, didn't they? They were a new thing. Televisions, radios, all sorts. To be honest with you, I'm not that keen on them. I think they're alright for record level and things like that, but generally I prefer just to turn round a knob to turn the volume up and down. Well, yep, there's your specifications there. IF470 actually is on the back, doesn't it? I didn't even notice before. Anyway, the batteries do just about still go in the cardboard, so it's a pity about these clips. I don't know what to do about that. If anyone has an idea, perhaps you could put it in the comments. Might have to just put tape on. So
somewhere in the BBC vaults that Brazil we're doing various see in the Premier League. What's your
Harder for you. It means investing.
well, obviously not that sensitive. It's only 6 transistors, but it has silicon transistors which have a higher gain. It took me a little while to work this scale out. I noticed it says IBA, so this must have been made between the switch over the transmitter, what was it, 78, and when did IBA medium wave station start? Was it the early 70s? So
when the emergency services were called.
Gets radio 4.
This big
Just about hear another station there.
runner-up Michael Smith against Gabriel Clemens, and the semi-finals of the best of 11 sets. Meanwhile, Venus Williams.
Yep, so yeah, I like it. I know it's nothing special, but I just love this styling of this tuning gauge, and you know, it's sort of my era. I used to be given lots of sort of early 70s, late 60s radio when I was a kid to play with. I think most of them are usually probably end up getting taken apart now, maybe, you know. Anyway, so that's that one working. Here's the Hira. I had one of these when I was a kid. I think I previously said in the opening part that you could listen to CB on it, and there's a TV band which I think sort of basically covered band 1, 87 megs to 54. I remember it came from, there was this shop in town that sold lots of cheap imports, and I remember it coming from there for, I think perhaps as a birthday present or something. I think my vivid memory was walking past near where I lived, which I happened to go past a police station, and I was listening to a TV programme on it, and I must have had it a bit too loud because I got told off by a policeman for causing a public disturbance. He obviously hadn't had a good day. This takes 4 AA batteries, and it's also got an external 6-volt socket. So let's just have a look what the polarity is. I think the easiest way is to see if I can get a connection to one of the springs. Those look like they're joined, so that's joined, so it's be this one. And yeah, so it's positive tip. Just trying to work out the wave band. Yes, CB, TV, FM, air, weather band, public band. Yeah. Interesting. There is no AM on this, is there? No medium wave. Okay. Ooh. Okay, pot needs cleaning then. There is a squelch control, and I can hear that closing. So let's leave it open. Ooh, nasty. I have some FM. Yes, so. Ooh, nasty cat. that's rather boring. That works as well. Just needs the pot cleaning up. Well, a strange mixture of screws. There's one in the battery compartment under the QC thingy there. Very bizarre set of screws, sort of 3 different types. So looking inside this, let's get it close to the camera. I hope it stays in focus. We'll zoom in a bit. There we go. So it does look like we've got an AM detector, and we've got a ratio detector or whatever. There's 2 pair of diodes there. There's quite a lot of cores, so must have 2 different IFs. So maybe the lower IF is for the CB band. There's no circuit diagram, so your guess is as good as mine. Output stage. There's only 1 transformer, so it looks like it has a direct output stage through a capacitor and just driven to get the splitting. They look like sort of AC128 type transistors, I guess. So what I'll do is I'll put some contact cleaner in here, and I'll put some fader lube in those pots. There's some holes in them, so I might better get to them, although that one looks difficult. I don't really fancy taking the board out, because knowing my luck... Oh, I don't know though, it might come out in one piece with a tuning scale, so... But it seems to work with the capacitors it's got. So that's the inside of that one. I suppose mine was long... My original one was long taken apart. Well, slightly naughty way of doing it, but I've just pulled the tab back and I've just got a little gap there, so hopefully I can get this into the squelch control. Hopefully it will go in. Don't waste too much of this stuff because it is so expensive. Got a 27.5 megahertz signal on the bench and it's picking it up AM modulation. So I had a look, it's definitely using AM for the CB, the FM and TV band, it's definitely using FM demodulation. So that explains why this was never good at picking up UK 405 line TV sound then, because it was AM if I remember rightly. And of course we had FM CB legally. Oops. So interestingly enough, the only one that's using AM is the CB. The public and air band is also FM. Well, I've always thought the air band was AM, but there you go. But to be honest with you, the FM demodulator isn't very good at rejecting AM anyway, and I found, there you go, that's 43% AM and it's picking that up, so squelch works as well, quite well. Slight beat with it. So yeah, I suppose that'll explain, you know, problems with receiving things. I don't know, when I was younger I imagine that AM was still probably used on a lot of the public service broadcasts. I remember listening to the local power company as well and listening to them working on power lines, so that was quite interesting as well. So yeah, not the most brilliant thing. I think it would have been better if they'd put a separate switch for AM and FM, because CB is AM in America, wasn't it? But I guess the illegal AM in the 70s here. Of course it's allowed now, AM and SSB on the CB band, so, and I don't suppose for a minute this corresponds to the UK band either, but anyway, I remember having fun with this when I was younger, so I suppose it was not too bad. Anyway, at least the volume control's better, a bit of working, and I think the capacitor will be better. But I think one of the annoying things was that the FM band is so squashed into the top part that it makes it really hard to tune, and I'm just discovering this now, so not the best thing, but it was great fun when I had one when I was younger. Okay, let's try the Perdio next. I think this is from 1958. See if anything happens. There's a slight current draw, 10 milliamps. Aha, here we go. Oh wow, very low volume. Let's try my local station. Good sensitivity on that. So the sensitivity's not great. Well, it has got long wave. I guess this is going to need a clean. Let's have a look. Ooh, bit of noise there. Don't seem to better get Radio 4. The sensitivity is very low. Well, it's working, which is quite surprising. Let's give that pot a clean. Quick shot of contact cleaner in the wave change switch and a bit of lube in the fade lube in the pot. So let's see. I'd say the pot still isn't perfect. I'll have to look at that. Let's see.
To join our brother abroad.
Yes, still not good on the pot. Perhaps it needs to work in a bit. But yeah, it's getting Radio 4 now. That's quite impressive. All on original capacitors. Getting Caroline. So it looks like, oh, the loudspeaker's fixed to the, so I just pull these little grippers out the speaker, and I've taken that one out. Let's see if we can get it out carefully. There we go. Oh, there we go. That's dusty, isn't it? Yeah, and there's our Mallards OC81s. Looking at the circuit, it's actually direct drive to the speaker, so perhaps a high impedance speaker. So a conventional open vein capacitor. Wow. Is that Hunts I see in there? Oh, and Waxies as well. Wow. Surprised it is working. So there we go. There's the Perdio. Apparently it's a 26 ohm speaker according to the trader sheet. There's its little radio license certificate, which I think radios had to have then. A little felt pad that the tuning scale rubs against. This isn't in perfect condition. I think there's some damage, I think, on it. A little bit, but it's not in bad condition. So that is quite a vintage radio. Looks like on the Perdio that the there's something wrong with the pot. I've got a feeling that the spring that holds the wiper in contact is weak, because if I wiggle it, it moves and it looks like a sealed part. But I've got a feeling that you know, I think I might have something like this around, just knowing where it is. But that's a nice radio. I do like that. Very nice radio. It's got an earphone jack and an aerial input, which I like. Very nice. So the Philips Personic. I assume that's volume off on. But it's very recessed. What's that? Wave change? Headphone socket, very unusual 2-pin socket. There we go. Ah, there's a little finger bit here. There's a stand as well. So when you go out and listen to your Radio Luxembourg, you could stand it up. That's good. Right, let's just see if we can just pop the back off so we can have a look at the innards. Alright, so this one uses pen-light batteries. So it's got an output transformer in this one. It's got the compact dielectric type capacitor in this one. Very interesting looking IF cores, I must say. Mallard transistors. thought there might be Newmarket ones, but no. So this runs on 4.5 volts. Very thin ferret rod there. A bit of metal screening. Now I wonder what that's about. It's copper, so it probably doesn't affect the ferret rod, I assume. I wonder if it's to... yeah, not sure. Oh, that must be a wave change switch then. Yes, it's, you can see it moving there. The switch. So yeah, rather conventional 7 transistors, and I've lost a bit of my paint there. Right, I'll try and figure out. I don't think this is a split supply, no. It's just 4.5 volts, so I think it's going to give a lot of audio, but let's power it up and see if it goes boom. Unfortunately, after just turning this volume control, it's going round and round, so fortunately I've got a feeling something's fell off. Oh, there is a rattle inside. I'm hoping it's just a screw on that potentiometer, but anyway, let's turn it on. It's drawing about 10 milliamp. By the way, it took a little bit of continuity testing to work out the polarity of the thing. Right, it's drawing 10 milliamp. There is a hiss in the speaker, so that's good. This is a little stiff as well. Any reaction to the wave change? No. So that looks like we need to do a little bit more work on this one. At least the current's not too high, but need to look at the volume control. I've got no... there we go. Now I can hear some background noise. There we go. Yeah. So the amplifier is working. Yeah, I can't turn it off, but at least I managed to move the volume control. So let's just give a bit of contact cleaner in that wave change switch. Look what I've just spotted. I think it's from the ferret rod, so let's get that soldered on. Of course, I can't be certain that's where the ferret rod connects, but it's worth a go. In any case, but I would say, given the noise I'm getting, that perhaps the converter is not running. I noticed with interest these plastic lugs here, which are designed to stop you from being able to connect the battery in backwards, so you're going to get a contact if the pip goes in, so that's interesting. Just been looking at the information. There's some lugs that hold the board in, and it also says I've got to take this scale off and some washers. Maybe the washers are disintegrating, and that's why it's hard for it to... Unfortunately, that's very fragile. There's little bits of fluff that looks like they should be on here somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly where. That's why the dial was not working very well. And that's the screw. Right, so with that released, the whole thing should drop out, I should think. Oh my goodness, and look here, here's a little tiny screw. God, isn't that dusty? God, that is tiny, that screw. Right, that's better. That's that reattached. Well, there was some sponge on the edge there, I guess, just to seal the speaker. That's obviously long since disintegrated. Right, well, I think the oscillator's not running, so perhaps I'll just put a bit of IF on it. Interesting how it's sensitive at the front end and not around the IF stage. A bit odd. Well, when I said the converter wasn't running, I think I might have been wrong. Just having a quick look at the DC voltages. Everything seems fine in the IF and the converter stage. So when I turn this volume up, the noise increases. That would lead me to think that there's something happening here, but it could just be that me moving this wiper further away from ground is just enabling there to be more noise from these transistors, because we know how noisy they are. Now the easiest thing would be to use signal tracer, but of course I haven't finished building it, so it's my fault on this one. The other thing I could do is actually inject some signals into various points here, see what happens. What I also have done is I've tried shortening BE on transistor 2 and BE on transistor 3. When I did BE on transistor 3, nothing much changed. When I did it on transistor 2, the noise reduced. That must just tell me we've got a noisy transistor. So I'd have previously heard the local oscillator running on the converter, so there could be something wrong with the input here to the converter. Regards the ferrite rods and tuning capacitors. Okay, signal generator, 470 kilohertz, 1 volt. So if I remember rightly, that is the output from the transformer to the detector diode. Oh, that's more sensitive. Nothing. First transistor base, second IF transistor 3 base. Not enough to do anything there, or it's not amplifying. First IF transistor 2 base. Yep. And then the base of the converter, which is right up here on the wave chain switch. Yes, so 2 sensitive points and 2 not sensitive points. Now, this signal generator is 50 ohm. I would have thought there'd been plenty of signal. 1 volt would be plenty to activate the first. Activate transistor 3, which is the second IF. Of passing interest, this device here, which is coloured blue with multiple legs, is actually 2 capacitors and 2 resistors. It's like a little composite module, and that's the first time I've seen one really in the radio. I've seen plenty of videos showing them, usually in stuff made stateside, so that's quite interesting. Okay, so what I've done is I've rammed a dirty great IF signal 470 kilohertz into the converter transistor's base, and I'm looking at the output of the last IF transformer that goes into the detector diode. As you can see, there's a good 3 volts peak to peak there. I'm actually struggling to see this oscilloscope here under the lights, but I can see it on the camera. And if I look at the other side of the rectifier, there's nothing. Even though I might be on the wrong sampling frequency, I'd expect to see an audio output there, and I'm seeing nothing, so that's very interesting. So I think the first thing is to have a look at the diode. Volt drop range, have we got anything? 1.8. The other way, 1.9. Oh, there we go then. It's a nice simple fault, isn't it? Okay, so made in Britain, OA70. Open. Germanium diode should be around 0.2. Interesting. According to my little Mullard book, an OA70 is a video detector diode. What the hell? Well, there we go. So we're getting some reception now. Good. Okay, so I'll fit that diode in properly. It's interesting, I had one, I think it's an OA81 actually, but I'm sure it'll work. Got to make sure I put the diode in the right way. I'll still demodulate, but the automatic gain control will work backwards, which isn't clever. Just thought I'd show the headphone socket. There's the two little pins, and there's a switch, and what it does is it disconnects the driver transformer into the phase splitter transformer, and then puts earpiece across the driver transistor. So that's interesting because it still leaves the output transistors on biased, I guess. But that's that anyway. I've put a bit of draft exclude around here, but I just hope I haven't gone too far and it's touching the speaker and causing problems, but it's a bit difficult to guess where it needed to go. That board just slides into this recess here, and these two bits here go into here, and then it goes that way, so hopefully there we go, there is that in, and then push the board into those two recesses and hopefully it should go in. And feel a little bit of pressure. Oh, there we go, I can see the screw. If I could keep it in frame. Yeah, our screw's lining up now. Looking at the instructions, it says to use your fingernail to pull this out, because there was originally some glue on here. Now, looking back at the video I took so far, there was two felt pads sort of pushed in there. Oh, and there's two washers and a slightly thicker washer. I don't know how well that shows up. So I remember it's the two smaller washers first and that thicker washer. They are mentioned as well, so I don't know what to do. I haven't recapped this because I don't have capacitor small enough in the axle size, and it's getting so difficult to get the darn thing now. When I had a look, the main smoothing cap is 1 ohm ESR, which isn't bad. The others are about 7 or 8 ohms, but it doesn't matter because they're a cost of 220 ohm, so they're good enough for now. But I didn't know whether to put a tiniest little touch of glue on there, so it's easier to take it apart next time. Now, obviously, with time from 1961, the clips come off, the glues come off, so this just fell off. So not quite sure what to do at the moment, but yeah, I've been cutting up a stick-on felt pad and just see if I can pop them in the corner here and see if they'll stick and stay, or whether they'll just slide round and jam up the mechanism. I'm not sure. Just see if it works. It might do, it might not. I'm not sure if the felt pads are quite thick enough, but they are catching, so yeah, that'll do. I've got to remember which way the batteries go. Well, you can't get them wrong, can you? So forgot to put this in, didn't I? Oops. It's supposed to go in this one here, I think, if I remember rightly. Right, let's try long wave first.
I don't have a preference. I think they're both very good waves.
Why do I always get something that sounds like Morse code at the bottom of the end of the band? Interesting. Try medium wave.
Ignore it because you know that you'll... Achieve something the other way, so obviously I feel in good form, I feel fit.
Free airport lounge.
Radio Premium. Start your 30-day free trial. Go to absoluteradio.co.uk and click Premium.
Save pounds at the pump at Morrison's.
Well, that very weak radio station is Absolute Radio, and it's the beginning of January 2023, and they've announced that they're going to shut down that AM network on the 23rd of January. They used the old network that used to belong to BBC Radio 3, and I think it is the weaker network because it's quite weak, as you can hear. I've never been able to receive it particularly well. I don't know if they've turned the power down. I guess my nearest transmitter is Brookman's Park. I can hear a lot of the filler stations, which are around the county, although some of them are hard to hear because my local radio station is between the two, and that unfortunately spreads a little bit because of the closeness I am to it. Even with RF gain back on my communications receiver, I can't really very well hear the fillers, but anyway, so that's sort of the beginning of it, isn't it? With Absolute shutting down their network, it just leaves now basically TalkSport and 5 Live, that the original BBC transmitters, and of course Smooth Radio, which is using all the local AM transmitters that used to belong to all the IBA local medium wave stations. So yeah, but anyway, so there's the radio. So it's got a stand, it's the earphone as I showed before. Here's its case. And I just happen to have the box as well it coming with, but I don't have the instructions. Let's just show you those. It's not often I have a box, so, but I haven't got instructions or anything else, or the peculiar earpiece that would have plugged into this.
On 648 AM, on your smart speaker, and on DAB. This is...
Okay, so there's another 5 radios I've heard play, so that's a good start. I'll have to select another 5 and have a similar go at them. Got some other interesting things perhaps to play with as well. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.